Welcome to the Time to Fly podcast. It's time to give your business wings and take flight to achieve more impact, influence, and income with unique perspectives, tools, and tips from successful entrepreneurs and business professionals to help your business fly. Here to educate, encourage, and entertain you with their own unique perspectives and experience, plus sharing anecdotes of growing up as cowgirls. Here's your host, Nikole Haumon.
Welcome to this episode of Time to Fly. Give your business wings. I'm your host, Nikole Haumon, here with Lydia Martinez-Ebling. Lydia Martinez-Ebling, aka Coach Lydia, is a highly sought-after corporate trainer, speaker, and health coach. Her track record of success extends beyond the traditional corporate sales and marketing training. She has personally recruited, trained, and managed direct sales organizations that have included thousands of independent distributors. In addition to her extensive sales and marketing skills, Lydia has a deep-rooted passion for health and wellness. She has spent the last 20 years continuing to learn and adapt to the latest scientific breakthroughs in health. Lydia's passion for wanting to grow and help others experience a lifestyle of better health and wellness has led her to founding the Metabolic Method Academy, and now the Ready, Set, Grow Academy is a new venture where she is taking her skills and knowledge and helping entrepreneurs develop their own signature courses. I have known Lydia Martinez for over 10 years. And in 2017, when she had launched Metabolic Method, I decided to take a part in that new venture of hers. And during that time, I actually learned I was allergic to corn. So thank you to Lydia for developing her Metabolic Method program. Getting to know her through the Metabolic Method allowed me to realize what a dynamic individual Lydia is and where her heart truly does lie in helping other people, whether it's in health and wellness or in their business. Once she launched her signature course program with Cy Wells, I decided to go ahead and hire them as my business coaches in specifically developing a signature course. This is where MyStandoutPro.com was developed. I'm excited to visit with Lydia today, sharing her knowledge over her 20-some years of experience in building business. We're going to learn more about her path to get to here, and then also what the Ready, Set, Grow Academy has in store for people who want to develop their own signature courses. Thank you so much, Lydia, for joining us today on the Time to Fly podcast. We do start out with this question because we know that you're a busy entrepreneur, just like a lot of people. What app or resource do you find yourself relying on over and over again for productivity or to create balance in your life?
You know, that's a great question. And there's quite a few that I like to toggle around with. But I think the things that keep me best organized is definitely Slack, having different projects and different people that have nothing to do with each other all in one place, because I love text messaging and then text can get lost. So I love Slack, using that. That definitely keeps me organized, being able to load files and things like that. And I truly am addicted to Google Docs. Google Docs does a lot for me because I'm able to do it from my phone and my computer. And honestly, I had a resistance to Google Docs for the longest time. And then once I really started to understand it, I operate in that 24/7 from the calendar to the document, Excel's, all those different things. So those are two things that really, I think, keep me productive and on task without going into overwhelm.
I do like both of them because it's a desktop or a phone version that definitely helps. I actually use both of those. I've been a Google fan for many, many, many years. Slack, definitely. It's so much easier to keep organized. Like you said, multiple people in one area, multiple projects, but it's one area that you go and check everything. So let's go a little bit into your background and your story. Start with when you were 10 years old. What did you imagine your life being like as an adult, and are you there?
When I think about that question, I laugh because I was never that kid that thought about the future. Because I grew up in a very unsettling household. So a lot of it was about survival. And honestly, if you would ask me when I was 10, my height of a career would have been being the Oriole bird mascot.
So you were a baseball fan?
Yeah, baseball was big in our household. Boxing was big in our household. But I always loved the Oriole bird mascot because I'm like, where else can you make fun of people, agitate people, and people still love you and you get paid to do it? Right? That was my thought process. You know, I wasn't taught business growing up. I wasn't taught really setting goals. I was taught an entrepreneurial spirit for sure because my dad had an entrepreneurial spirit, but I wasn't structured of, you know, go to school and get a good education and get a good job and corporate type of thing. It was more like just work hard. And so to see where I was and the type of person I was at 10 and to see where I am now, I would have never thought I would be where I am now. That wasn't in my cards per se. So have I met my goals? I guess I have.
Well, we might have to see if you can be the Oriole bird for one day as a guest.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I totally love it. I would eat it up.
So tell us a little bit about your story then, from high school through college into adult life. What started you down the path that you're on now?
Well, it's funny because I've told this story a lot because I've been in the health and wellness arena for over 20 years. But it was never, like I said, it wasn't a focus. I didn't have a goal there. I'm going to go and change lives and I'm going to teach health or anything like that. It just came from personal experience. Like I said, I had an unsettling household growing up. So there was a lot of things that I learned from that. But one of the things that I used to watch, my father was a type 2 diabetic and he struggled with his weight. And because of type 2 diabetes, not only did he struggle with his weight, he struggled with his health. What really, I guess, created the path or the course that where I am today was the moment. It was March. I got a phone call and March 31st, 12:20 in the afternoon. And they said, you need to come to the hospital right away. And by the time I made it to the hospital, my father had passed away from a massive heart attack. And he passed away from a massive heart attack because he had type 2 diabetes. And he had type 2 diabetes because he struggled with his weight. And it was like this endless cycle of him having these health issues and everything. You know, he was diagnosed at the age of 45, type 2 diabetes, had his first heart attack at 48, had his last heart attack at 58. And it was that moment in time for me, and I was a 21-year-old kid that was, I guess, scared into, you know, I got frightened into the industry because it wasn't like, oh, now I'm going to go change lives. It was, I don't want to die. Because I was told these statistics that I was 50% more likely to have type 2 diabetes and be on insulin like my father was because I'm a Hispanic and that's, you know, that's your genetics. And I was 50% more likely to have heart issues and very likely to die from heart disease because of my family history. And what started to happen was I went on a mission to not die. And from there, long story short, to shorten it, that mission was, I just don't want to die. And I started to understand that I didn't have to be a statistic, that the body was dynamic, meaning the food that I would eat, the activity that I would choose could influence how quickly or slowly I would age, how fast or slow my metabolism was, and all these different things. And the energy and life that we brought to each day would enter through the food that we were eating. When I started to understand these things, Nikole, it went from, oh, I don't want to die, to a moral obligation, thinking I cannot be the only person that was given this misinformation. So then it turned into a mission, that moral obligation of telling people and teaching people and sharing with people the things that I was learning about health. And from there, it grew into a huge passion because I found out I was good at it and that I really enjoyed it and it would light me up. Then going into a whole industry of understanding marketing and working with health coaches is really what's brought me here today. So it was a long journey, but an amazing journey that happened, I guess, by mistake in a sense.
So 21 years old and you get that call,
Mm-hmm.
You go on a life mission because that completely changed your path.
Yeah.
And then in 2014, you had a pivot and that's when you started Metabolic Method. Can you tell us more about Metabolic Method and your vision and how that developed more into the Ready, Set, Grow?
Okay. Well, Metabolic Method was developed through just a lot of personal experience. So having the industry, having the background, I ended up getting into network marketing, and I became very successful through network marketing and utilizing my health background. And I had a corporate position. I was offered a corporate position, was with this company 16 and a half years. 8.5 of it was on the corporate side, developing their programs and curriculums and teaching people about health and marketing. And in 2014, I separated from that company. And that's where Metabolic Method came about, because even though I had separated from that company and I learned, and I have a lot of thankfulness of things that I got from that company, one of the things that I was kind of tired of, because I was pigeonholed or felt pigeonholed with helping people if they didn't fit in a particular box, if they didn't use a particular supplement, or if they didn't do a particular cleanse. And with Metabolic Method, I said, I want to be able to create a program that is really focused around health and customizing someone's needs, meaning customizing to their hormonal imbalances, because that's what your metabolism is, customizing their supplement protocol, not just because this is something I sell, but because it's going to improve their quality of life, customizing and understanding their workout regimen and where does it fit in. And it came from not only experience of working with people over the process of 20 years, but in my own personal experience with hormones and having adrenal issues. And that's a whole nother conversation that we could have that we don't have time for. But I was like, I felt at one moment in my life that I wasn't being heard as a woman and in my health. So I said, a Metabolic Method is going to help people feel heard, because they're not crazy, that they're not getting results. It's not crazy. It's just their hormones, if that makes sense. And that came about, and we've changed hundreds of lives. And what was really cool about that, there was health coaches that took our course when it comes to Metabolic Method Elite System. And they said, Lydia, we want to teach what you teach. So then we created the academy. And it was just time when we come into the Ready, Set, Grow and signature course stuff, things that light you up. You might be really great at something, and being able to pull that out of someone, it's led us to the next journey or next chapter of our life, because we know how to create programs, because we've done it so many times when it comes to Metabolic Method.
With the Metabolic Method, I did say in the intro that I've been through the program. I found out I was allergic to corn from it. But during that time, I also got to know you more. And then when Ty Wells came on and helped with the Academy for Metabolic Method, I got to know her. And I actually signed up with you guys to develop my own signature course. So you work with not just health professionals, but you'll work with different entrepreneurs in general.
Yeah, absolutely. If someone has something tangible, and when I say that tangible, they can be a health coach, they can be specialized in social media, tangible, something that someone is looking for. Like if you have something that you can teach someone that they're actually looking for it, because there's a difference in some people say, well, I just want to teach someone how to have an abundant life. Well, really, what does that mean? And is it tangible? Are people going on and Googling how to live an abundant life, or are they going on and Googling, how do I maximize and acquire clients through LinkedIn? Yeah, they're more likely looking for something like that versus, I just want to live an abundant life. So that's the difference in tangible. So, weave into what you were saying. It's not just about health coaches. It's about someone that has something tangible and something to share and their way to share it.
So from an entrepreneurial standpoint, why should people develop a signature course? What benefits would they have in their business?
That's a great question. And I truly believe that everyone has a voice and everyone has something of value to offer. And sometimes we feel like, well, it's already been done. And yes, there's a lot of things that have already been done. And there's like what we consider time-old wisdom, but it's time-old wisdom through in your words. When I say everyone has a voice, it means that you were designed, God designed you to speak to a particular person, a particular profile. And even though there might be person X over to the right that does the same thing that you do, they don't connect the same way that you do to this particular profile. So you should take what you know and share it. And the only way that you're able to share that is to put it into a course. And there's a couple different reasons I'm doing that. You put it and create yourself a business, but also putting it into a course helps you scale. So that's one of the conversations when we were on the phone, when we first were discussing, and I brought up the concept of you having your own online program. Without an online program, you're not going to be able to scale what you do. And so take your voice, create a program for it, but scale what you do so you're not just trading time for dollars, get paid. Even when you're sleeping, that's the idea. That's the leverage. That's scaling. And that's why everyone should really have if you have a niche, and like I said, you have something tangible, then you should have a signature course.
Going through helping people build these signature courses, what do you see as their biggest challenge when it comes to even thinking about creating these?
There's a couple different challenges, but that's what we do. We eat challenges for breakfast. The one is that they don't really truly understand or know their market, who they want to work with and who they want to speak to. That's a big mistake that people make because they get very broad, and they get very broad because they're not completely confident at the moment on what they're providing or what they really have, especially if this is new to them. So when you're really broad on who you're speaking to, when you try to speak to everyone, you speak to no one. Perfect example. When I talk to quote unquote health coaches and they say, well, I'm a health coach. Well, what's that mean? Are you hawking a cleanse kit? Or are you certified? It's just vanilla. And the reason that it's vanilla and you're just saying you're a health coach because you don't know who you want to work with. Oh, well, I specialize working with women. Okay, well, what type of women? Right? So that's one of the biggest challenges. You have to really narrow it down. And sometimes people get frightened by that. They say, well, if I only just talk to this person, then I'm going to limit my income. No, if you only talk to the person that you're meant to talk to, you increase your income, you maximize your efforts. And that's where people make mistakes because they're trying to talk to everyone. And then the second part to that is that when it comes to like creating a course, often people will think their course needs to be what they can do versus what really lights them up, which there's two different parts of that. There's things that I am good at and I can do, but they don't light me up. And I don't want to teach on it. Like, I just don't want to do it. So I don't want to be doing something that doesn't light me up. So really figuring out, okay, what lights you up? Because when you're lit up, your people get lit up. And when they get lit up, they get results. And when they get results, that brings you more business. Hopefully that makes sense. So you could do something, but just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. It's like when I talk to women, just because the pants fit doesn't mean that you should be wearing them. So really identify what it is that you want to do with people, work with people. And it's just like when we were talking with Cy and going through and LinkedIn. I mean, you are a master at LinkedIn, but you have so much more to offer, right, than just LinkedIn. But you would have never known that. We would have never pulled it out if we never had the conversations on what lights you up. What lights you up is not doing certain things. It's working with people, it's doing workshops. It's, that's what lights you up. So that's what needs our focus needs to be. Does that make sense?
It does. And, when I got on the phone with you guys for the first conversation, I was sure we were going to do something revolving around like graphic design or website design.
Yep.
And like you said, the things that I can do. But going through your guys' course and putting the pieces together, yes, I enjoy teaching and I have people who tell me that I'm good at it. So
you are.
Developing those strengths, are important for anybody who wants to do it. Where can they go to get more information on the course academies that you're doing?
What would be the best for anyone is to go to our Ready, Set, Grow Academy.com. And it's actually a free course that we offer. And this is something that I would suggest that you go through first to really decide, because there's a lot of things that need to be in place. And when it comes to being an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, what I call an untraditional entrepreneur, it's So I would go through that, get all your nuggets in place, and then book a strategy session with us, which is completely complimentary. We do a breakthrough session. ReadySetGrowAcademy.com would be your first step.
With that, we're going to take a short break.
This episode is sponsored by Standout Pro, teaching you how to stand out and get more clients using LinkedIn. Get your free gift at standoutpro.com.
Welcome back to this episode of Time to Fly podcast. I'm your host, Nikole Haumon, here with ReadySetGrowAcademy.com founder, Lydia Martinez-Ebling. Now, when you work with people, personalities matter to you. How do you determine if you actually want to work with somebody or they should work with you?
Well, for me, my personality, I like doers. And that's why I think, we just connect well. I feel like we connect well because it's one thing to have something really creative and be able to bring it out. But if you're not going to do the steps in between, it doesn't matter. And I'm a person that wants to run with you because inside's the same way, because we invest in you. We're not just about let's create your course and see you. No, let's create your course and make sure that you make money from it, that your people know about it, that it gets out there. So we're very invested. So that means being invested. We want somebody running with us. We don't want to drag them across the finish lines. And so we're a team. When we come on, we feel that you're a fit for the team. It's not that you can just pay us and that you have an idea. It's that we're both going to bring value to each other's lives.
Well, we're getting close to wrapping up the podcast. I have a few more questions for you. If you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self and when would you do this?
You know what's funny? Because in my 20s, I was a very insecure little kid, and I was very insecure teenager and even in my 20s, but I hid it very well with my sarcasm. But I made a ton of mistakes in my 20s, just mistakes. And I would love to say I would go back to me in my 20s and say, get your head out of your butt and, stop hanging out with these people. You're better than this, that type of thing. But at the same time, because of the mistakes that I made, I have a whole different view today of people. And it's a good thing. I have an empathy that I didn't, I wouldn't have. I have an understanding that I believe I wouldn't have. And I have a grit that I have that I truly believe that I wouldn't have because I learned how to survive off of storms that I created. Now, I probably would go back to that 21-year-old self. And I say 21 because when my dad died, it was a marker for me. So that's tough, but you're a good kid. So I think that's just something I would say versus beating myself up. And I don't know why I'm tearing up because it's been a long time.
That hug and those words would mean a lot to everybody, especially when you don't have your dad with you. So thank you for sharing that, Lydia. Wow. So where do you stay up to date in your field? This might be a book, a podcast, or any resource that is good source of information for us to know about too.
I love podcasts, and really there's not just one podcast. What I normally do, there's two different things. One, even though I don't longer take on health clients, I am a science and nutrition junkie. I love staying up to date. So when I see certain things come out, like whether it's about supplementation or it's a new fad diet or new research, then I start diving in and looking for science, and I'll do like NIH and do a government, look for science articles that way. That's one way that I stay up to date. So when someone asks me, what do you think about the XYZ diet? I give my educated opinion. But when it comes to business, I do a lot of search when it comes to podcasts. So I'll go into podcasts and I search a particular word. It might be LinkedIn. It might be blogging. It might be Instagram, whatever it is that seems like getting hot or I have questions on, I go and search a title and go through and find podcasts that way. People really I think they miss out on the information that they can get through podcasts. They're just so valuable nuggets if you take the time to go look for them.
And I do like podcasts because you can listen to them while you're doing other things. Exactly. I would rather listen to a podcast or an audiobook than music, because that way I can do dishes or work out and get that information at the same time.
Right.
What other advice would you give to new and growing entrepreneurs based on what you've learned on in your journey?
New and growing entrepreneurs is, well, there's two things that I would say. Number one, don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Too many times, especially women, we step over dollars to save pennies. But invest wisely, but don't be afraid. We're used to that security. We worry about security, but invest. Invest in your business, invest in your education, and invest in your personal growth, because if you're an entrepreneur, you're the people business. So it's really important that you get that personal growth aspect to deal with different personalities and the way people operate, things like that. And then the second part to that would be, make sure that you get with the right coaches and the right mentors. I know there's a lot of free information out there. And, in the beginning, back 20 some odd years ago, when I started on, just a personal growth journey, I did a lot of Tony Robbins cassettes, right? This is even before CDs, cassettes. And so that was, like my personal growth university. But nothing replaces a live mentor or coach. So get a coach, get a mentor, or get into some type of mastermind and continue to do that. Even when you get to a level of success, you got to go to that next level of growth. And because having a mentor, having a coach, or being in a quality mastermind, not a cookie club, but a quality mastermind, people are able to see certain things that you can't see. So one of the things that I'll say to you often, it's hard to see the picture when you're inside the frame. So having a coach and having a mentor, their main role is to move you forward and to help you see that picture that you're inside of. And so they're invested in your success and your growth, not necessarily worrying about hurting your feelings. and that's an important thing. So those are the two things: invest in yourself and invest in getting a mentor and a coach.
Great advice there. Thank you for listening to this episode of Time to Fly. Be sure to join us for our next show, where you can give your business wings.
A big thank you to this episode's sponsor, Standout Pro. Be sure to get your free gift at standoutpro.com.
Join our fly. Stay informed of all things Time to Fly by subscribing to our newsletter at timetoflypodcast.com. And be sure to tune in to our next show.